So we just want to try to do something a little different and put a little video out there and let, you know, kind of just, I figured maybe talk about us and get to know us a little better, I guess you could say. I'm gonna kind of give you a rundown of me. So I was born in Fort Riley, Kansas in 1983. I grew up here in Oklahoma. I was really into sports when I was young. Played baseball. Baseball was my sport up until I hit my freshman year in high school and got mixed up in a wrong crowd. That's a whole nother story. Got tripped up, lost in addiction for a long time until I was about 32. Me and Sammy got together in 2012. We've known each other for a long time. She went to my papa was a preacher in Indiana, and her family went to my papa's church. So that's how our family met her family. I hadn't seen her in quite a few years, and it was around 2010, 2011, and I was in the process of trying to get myself right. Another failed attempt, and there was many of those. They just didn't do it the correct way, you know, with Jesus. Yeah, I was working at Dentcraft in Oklahoma City, and it popped in my mind. I was thinking about her for a couple days, and I finally was like, you know what, I'm just gonna message her on Facebook. And I went and messaged her, and she messaged me back, and within a year and a half after that, I had decided to go to Indiana. I jumped on a Greyhound and went to Indiana, and we have literally been together ever since.
Just about.
We actually split up just for about 2 or 3 months. Other than that, we've literally just about been around each other for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 11 years. What do you got to say?
11 listening to you talk about it.
So, I got on a Greyhound, went to Indiana. We actually stayed with her dad in Indiana for actually about a year, but stuck in addiction. So the first 4 years that we were together was, I'm talking deep addiction, like not holding a job, like literally that's all life was about, was finding a fix, basically. That went on for about 4 years. I'd say in about 2014, we moved here to Oklahoma. She came here with me to Oklahoma, and we were living in, well, kind of living in our car, really. And finally we got a motel over here, and we actually stayed there for quite a while.
He showed a clip of that, or he will.
Oh, yeah, I did. That's where we lived. Probably about 6 months or longer.
Yeah.
Addiction just went like crazy bad. It got so bad to the point where she left me. And understandably. I remember in that moment, like, when she left, I was literally, I got kicked out of that motel, and I was stuck basically downtown Tulsa with nowhere to go, strung out. That's a scary place to be.
Yeah.
But in that mindset, it's not really scary, if that makes any sense. Your mind is not thinking of trouble, or, you know, like what my mind thinks of now, trying to picture myself being there with a sober mind. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. She was gone for about 2 or 3 days. Didn't hear from her. I don't even think that I tried calling her. The day that we got the fight happened, the next morning I came back, I walked by the motel again, and she was in there, and I snuck back in the room, and we were talking, and that's when her mom showed up to pick her up. And I'm pretty sure I passed out in that motel room. Y'all left, and I passed out on the floor.
Broke my heart.
Woke up later and just up and slipped out. Stayed strung out for another couple days. She messaged me, and we were messaging back and forth, and she said that if I wanted to keep our relationship together, that I had to get faith-based treatment. And that's exactly what I did right in that moment. That was probably April 14th of 2016. Called my mom, she came pick me up. She drove me to another motel room away from that area, set me up for a couple nights, and basically I was on a roll to figure out how to get fixed up. I actually I had a little bit more of stuff that I was on, and I remember getting down on my knees and saying, this is it. It was kind of like a agreement with myself that this is it, dude. This is it. You ain't touching it no more. What's crazy is in that moment, in those couple days, I knew that I needed Jesus, but it was, my prayers felt so empty and so void. Like it didn't. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. there was nothing or anybody listening whatsoever. I was calling around trying to find different programs, and my uncle actually got a hold of me. He had found, I guess they were at somewhere in Tulsa shopping, and there were people going around handing out flyers, and it was a rehabilitation program in McAllister. I called them, they came and picked me up, took me to that program, and I was only there for like 2 weeks, maybe a week or two. The stuff that was going on in that program, the way the guy that was running the program, like I said, that's an entire story on itself. It felt corrupt to me, so it just didn't feel right. The dude that was running the place, he had nice jewelry and drove really nice cars, living off of these guys that need help. And like I said, it's not like he wasn't helping. You got housed and you got fed. You didn't get fed good, like it was beans and like crazy cheap, you could definitely tell, but at least he did keep people fed and all that stuff, and maybe it worked for other guys, who knows. Just about a year ago, my mom sent me a link. The guy was on the news for that reason, because people were turning him in thinking that, you know, it was improper, I guess, what he was doing, the way he was doing things. But that's how I felt, and I got my cell phone back from him, left there. I didn't have no minutes on my phone. I was in the middle of a town I literally never been in. I had no idea anything about it. So I take off walking, and probably about 2 miles, and I finally hit a Walmart. I had made just enough, I had enough money in my pocket from panhandling, $30, $40 in my pocket. So we went into Walmart, and well, actually the first thing I did was hit a convenience store and bought me a cigarette, because that was driving me nuts too. They wouldn't even let us smoke cigarettes, and I mean, that's a lot to take in when you're trying to get sober and take a weight. Legitimately every freaking thing. So I got a hold of Sam. Sam got a hold of my mom, and eventually she did get in touch with me. She came pick me up. She took me back to that same motel that I was at whenever I got a hold of this place. I went to this program that I did way back when, back in 2009, I think I went through the same program. At this time, when I got a hold of him in 2016, he had like an assistant, and he was kind of pretty high up there. He could make those types of decisions. So I got a hold of him, and they set me up with an interview with that guy. And I think I had to do all kind of application process and everything. Like, I was walking back and forth to the library. Like, I was digging my feet in the ground to get myself right. And he accepted me. The rest is history as far as getting clean. So I was in that place for about 3 months. But I got a job at Walmart. I don't think Sam really thought that I was really going to do what I did as far as actually getting clean. And so I told her, I said, my first check, I'm going to be coming to get you. Didn't have a car or nothing. And I got my first check. I went to my sister. My sister rented me a vehicle and took off to Indiana. I convinced her to come back here with me. At the time, she wasn't even planning on staying, really. So when I got back, I ended up getting in trouble from the program for leaving the way I did. They ended up making me leave the program. But by that point, like I said, it had been 2 months, a little more, close to 90 days of sobriety altogether. Somehow, I don't know how it came about, but I ran into an old friend, and she had a little piece of property, and she had camper trailers on the property. She had an empty one, and that's where we lived. We lived in like one itty bitty camper. I'm talking like one little living room area and then a bedroom area. And then there was like a little loft bed on the other side. Yeah, completely
take a shower
open.
in the winter.
But stayed there for 3 or 4 months. Ended up getting a little apartment, and then and that's how we are where we are today. So April 16th, 2016 is my sobriety date. I've been clean since that day, and we've done nothing but excel from that point on. Love Jesus. Yeah. He's literally got all the glory. Yes, like literally, because I'm telling y'all, I tried doing this many times throughout those years, you know. I literally lived like I was 17, 18 years old till I was 32. It's a pretty good way of explaining it. And it was a roller coaster for all those years. Once I buckled down and took Jesus serious, they took us to church a couple times while I was in that program in McAllister. And the preacher was preaching about, you can't change anything around you until you change you. And That simple statement pierced me. I don't know why. It definitely a God thing, because it pierced my heart. At that moment, my whole mindset changed. And I thought, for all these years, every time I would try to get myself right, it was like a reality check that is exactly what I kept trying to do. I was trying to fix everything going on around me, but I'm not fixing this, my heart, and the transformation of my mind, which we're still working on. We'll never be perfect, but I can say for sure I'm sober for the longest that I've ever been sober in my life, and I'll be sober till the day I die. You know, I might have a beer every once in a while, but you know what? I was never like an alcoholic. I really don't even care for beer, but every once in a while I get a taste for it and have a couple beers. But anyway, it's all due to Christ. Yeah, we're so thankful, very humbled, because I lived that other way for so many years, and thought of being where we are today, trying to have that mindset back then, it felt like it was unrealistic.
Never gonna happen.
It was so far out of reach that it was fantasy, is what it felt like. All that was evil whispering in my ear, like, there's nothing in this world that anybody can't overcome. I promise you. If I can overcome that, anybody on this planet, if you put your mind to it and your heart to it and you put Christ in the center of it, nothing is impossible. I feel like I'm living proof of that. And it's the same with Sammy. I'm super proud of her too. She done it with me. And here we are 7.5 years later, still grinding, trying to climb to that next step. I mean, if there's anybody out there that's struggling with any kind of addictions or anything like that, like, just keep your head up. Keep your head up and never say never. Seriously. That voice in the back of your head that's trying to convince you that this is just who you are and you're stuck and you've messed up too many times and you're just doomed. It's not true. It's not true whatsoever. If you put your heart and mind in the right direction to the right person, it's possible to be anything that you strive to be. I mean, I know that because I'm living it. I'm living it today. What you got to say, Sammy? Say some stuff.
We'll do a whole nother video with me talking.
Okay. Alright, I'm sorry guys. Sammy's going through some things right now, so, and you know me, I'm just a super energetic, bounce around kind of dude. And that's another thing, like, it's insane because this me was so hidden for so long, because when you're that far off like that, like, you feel like you can't even get up and go cut someone's grass, you know, without having help to do it. For the first time in my life, well, you know, the past 6 years, I've finally got natural energy back, and I feel like me. Think back of times of just staring at myself in a mirror and seriously not even like knowing who it is I'm looking at. Just a totally different person that I will never, ever, ever, ever go back to. So yeah, you guys tell me what you think and about us doing these types of little videos. If y'all don't mind prayer for Sammy and her family. Her grandpa is not doing well in Kentucky right now. Yeah, if we could just get prayers for him. Yep, just let us know what you think. And we love you guys. And I hope this turns out decent. We love you guys. Catch us on the next one. Till next time. Peace.
Yesterday there was sun in